For a potted history of my involvement with the club, I'd say my first encounter would have been 1990, when my son was 4, and the club then ran, and I think still does, a junior development program for kids under school age. And at that point I put my hand up to be a dad coach, as so many do, and I coached my son's team eventually right through to All Age Sunday when the boys were 21. My son didn't stop playing, but he went to school in the country about mid-teenage years, so he went off and I coached the team right through till they were young men. I finally let them go their own way when they started to turn up to matches still drunk from the night before. I thought at that point they were on their own. I don't think my son ever played in a small-sided team as he was going through. That changed well, quite some years later. I think possibly around about the 2000s, early 2000s, when the game started to get scaled down for the juniors. But yeah, I can remember many a time when no one wanted to be a goalkeeper because that was an awful lot of goal to protect when you're only a metre tall.
That's right.
Mind you, most of the attacking forwards at that point weren't actually sure which direction they were running, so they could quite often be running the wrong way or not even noticing where the edges of the field were. It was always very humorous to watch a swarm of little bees chasing a ball around the field. Back then, of course, the club didn't have separate boys and girls teams. I had, from about under 8s onwards, I had 2 young girls actually joined my team. They were friends of my son's and his friends from school, from infant school, and they played. But and they both played. They were allowed to play up until I think under 12s, and both of them did so. One of them eventually moved out of the district and went to the Macarthur district, and I think ended up playing reps in the Macarthur district. So she was a tough little nut, and those girls easily held their own. One of them ended up being the goalkeeper, and she was very good too. She ended up playing reps for Gladesville Hornsby. So that was good that we had that kind of. And both girls were well accepted in the team. The boys got on very well with them and they were allowed to do their own thing, but there was no separate girls teams. There was no separate pathway for them in those days. And at under 12s they had to go off and join women's leagues, things like that, which they both did. The club just kept growing. Every year would be increasing, and I think over the first probably 10 years that I was involved with the club committee and the club's development, we went from 20 odd teams to 50 to 60 to 70. I think by the time I stepped away from the committee type role, it was well into the hundreds of teams, and a lot of that was due to, I think, the feel that the club presents to the community. That inclusiveness, that attitude of we're here to have fun, you're here to play sport with your friends. Winning the Gold Cup at the end of the year is a great objective, but it's not the main reason that you're here. You're here to have fun, basically, and enjoy the game.